everyone. My name is Megan Frady. I am a senior at Montreat College and I'm studying outdoor education. My research topic is on storytelling and its benefits in outdoor education and environmental science. I'll be going through my purpose first and then sharing some brief definitions, going through what I found in the research that was interesting, and also why this is beneficial to the field of education and environmental science. Storytelling for an educational purpose has become recently popular in the classroom. It opens new opportunities in cultural knowledge and transformation, vocabulary and communication, conservation, and it also helps guide creative learning. Here are some terms that I think would be useful to understand a little bit more about what I'm talking through. Integral learning is making connections between subjects and skills. Photo voice is using photos to compel others and influence change among people. And bioculture is a combination of biological and cultural factors that affect the human behavior. All of these are really important in storytelling, and we'll be going into more detail in the upcoming slides. Storytelling can take on many forms, but I'm mostly focusing on these three. All of them are very important in their own way and sometimes can be confused and mixed together. But these three are going to be photo voice, oral storytelling, and personal stories. I'll go more into detail into each one, starting with photo voice. Photo voice, otherwise mentioned as visual learning, is using photos to compel others and influence change among people. Data, Hampton, and Cabiza are in agreement when saying that visual storytelling can bring to light cultural values while also helping them understand heritage from another point of view. Photo voice also helps people understand complex emotions and feelings, as said and tested by Wang in 1997. He conducted several studies through surveys that participants would take before and after a story with visual effects was shown. The results showed that people felt more empathy and processed specific emotions better with visual aids. The second form of storytelling is oral storytelling, and is defined as relating a tale to one or more listeners through voice or gesture. Oral storytelling is much more popular than the other forms of storytelling, mostly because it doesn't use as many props in a classroom setting. Oral storytelling can give more personal and human meaning to actions, and it also helps with cognitive development. Something that is used to help with cognitive development is verse analysis, which is using repetition to teach. Oral storytelling also helps further imaginative learning, which has socio-emotional and psychological benefits in youth. The third form of storytelling that I'm going to talk about is personal stories. This is how a person's experiences, how shaped how they see the world and see themselves in it. Personal stories often help build bridges of communication with people, and by telling stories, we as people can feel connected and relate to each other more easily. Each of us have a story, and we love to share it. Drum shapes how personal storytelling can help open a pathway to dialogue and discussion, which ultimately leads to collective, service based change in a community. People are often moved by personal connections, which is why stories are a way to help preserve certain areas. Storytelling in conservation has become a useful process to help engage others in the negatively impacted environment we're in. In Indigenous conservation, Packer and Ryan said that by looking into Indigenous stories and a defined land ethic, we can once again make conservation a priority. Did you know that Indigenous Americans own around 85% of land that is specified for biodiversity, and yet they still struggle with the preservation of their cultural lifestyle, which is important for not only conservation, but historical remembrance? Schmidt and Peterson said that their stories have been passed down from generation to generation, and those stories hold their practices and heritage that they have struggled to preserve. So, storytelling is an easy form that we can use to help engage each other in that preservation of their culture. Greek mythology is another form that can come in stories. It shares sacred stories about the origins of the world and the human's place in it. Gifford mentioned that even though stories are mythical, these specific ones, they share a lot of ancient beliefs and practices that were held back in historical times, and every story holds a fraction of truth. Using stories to teach the lessons about the world is an effective way to engage a student's creativity and imagination while also learning about the origins of the world. Stories also help conserve wildlife. Local stories can bring to light the human animal relationships, which can contribute to wildlife conservation. Palomo most said that most people can understand situations from a shallow point of view. They can sympathize, but they don't completely see the urgency of wildlife conservations. Storytelling helps humanize animals and it creates a sense of urgency that wasn't there before. A study by Lee and Lin in 2018 helped prove this by testing people's empathy and respect towards animals. What they did was what they gave them a survey to fill out before and after a video was shown, and it gauged their sympathy for that animal and how much that they felt action that needed to be taken. There are several cautions when it comes to storytelling. As Spencer said, it can be difficult to separate a story from the reality of human effects on the earth. So people could actually see these real life issues as no more than a story, and they forget the urgency of the need that the story is trying to share. Drum also warns against using storytelling as a common circumstance, as it can open a danger for subjectivity. So every story is going to be different in the eyes of each person. And by trying to force a certain outlook, you are taking away the process of imaginative learning and can take away the point of storytelling. There are several cautions when using stories in a lesson, but this should not deter people from using them. Storytelling should be a well thought out and planned lesson, and the benefits of storytelling outweigh the negative effects that it could have. Thank you for listening to my presentation. My references will be on the next two slides, and if you have any questions, you can contact me at mfrady@montreat.edu.